Om Tava Kathamritam Tapta Jivanam Kavibhiriditam Kalmashapaham Shravanamangalam Srimadadatam Bhuvi Grinante Ye Bhurida Janaha. Sri Ramakrishna Kathamrita, the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. We are discussing that profound statement by Sri Ramakrishna in the very first occasion when the record of the Gospel, Mahendranath Gupta met him. Shandha Gayatri te loihai, Gayatri abar Onkare loihai. Sandhya merges into Gayatri and Gayatri merges again into Om. So the Gayatri mantra is one of the most sacred and one of the most powerful mantras in the Vedas. He talks about the awakening of the inner consciousness in every human being, a faculty which is called Dhi. Dhiyo yo naf prachodayat. Dhi in plural is Dhiya. Nah asmakam, ours. Collectively, it's a prayer for the awakening and kindling of the faculty of higher intelligence and intuition dormant in every human being. In fact, Swami Vivekananda called this education. The manifestation of the perfection which is already in a human being, in a man, which is what he called education. How is it manifested? It is manifested through the kindling of the Dhi, which is mentioned in the Gayatri Mantra. Dhi is called Pragya in the Yoga Sutra, and the light of the higher intelligence which guides our paths in life. Education is the light, and the higher form of education as intelligence intuitively awakened in the mind, by which you realize the truths of nature, inner and outer, is called the educative process through the awakening of Dhi. In ancient India, education was the awakening of the Dhi, of the Gayatri. There's a prayer. It's chanted as a mantra and the japa is done. But it could be used as a japa mantra by repetition, or it could be simply used as a form of prayer. Even if you do not repeat it a fixed number of times as it is usually done, you may use it as a kind of meditation or prayer. You pray to the Supreme Reality, which is symbolized by Savitu Varenyam Bhargaha. Varenyam, adorable, worshipable, Bhargaha, the divine light, Savitu, of that sun. Savitra is the sun, Savitu is the Shashti Ekavachan, sixth sense, sixth case, singular, Savituhu. Savituhu Varenyam Bhargaha Dhimahi. I meditate on the supreme light of that reality symbolized by the luminous sun. May he awaken our intelligence, not mere intellect. Intellect belongs to the Manomaya. The understanding of a human personality in terms of 5 layers is an extraordinary discovery of the Upanishads. It is emphasized particularly in the Taittiriya Upanishad. Every human personality is 5 layered. Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, Anandamaya. And each one of them is called the Atma. This is also very striking. Atma does not mean only that which is spiritual and transcendental. It also means the physical, the mental, the intellectual, aesthetic, and the spiritual. Every one of them is called the Atma. Atma is the self. So the body is also called Atma, mind is also called Atma, intellect is called the Atma, and Jivatma is called Atma, Paramatma is called Atma. So the word Atma is to be very carefully understood according to the context. So Upanishadic rishis did not make any distinction between the secular and the sacred, the physical and the spiritual. It is the same spirit which is manifesting in ever so many forms and fashions. It manifests as matter, it manifests as the mind, it manifests as the intellect, it manifests as the individual spirit, and it manifests as the supreme spirit. So you talk about the Annamaya Atma, the physical body, which is governed by certain laws at the physical level. You should understand every one of these layers, every one of these steps has its own laws of governance. The physical laws are those which govern the physical layer of the human personality. It's called Annamaya Atma. Annamaya Atma is governed by the physical personality, the body, the blood, the bones, the structure, the entire physical body, which of course is animated by life or prana. Here you should remember that the Indian wisdom distinguishes between life and consciousness, whereas the Western approach mixes up life with consciousness. We discovered long ago in India, our rishis discovered, that life and consciousness are not the same. Life is called Pranamaya Atma, and consciousness begins with the awakening of the Vijnanamaya Atma. So you have the physical body, purely physical, material body, which is governed by the material laws of physics, physical sciences. The body is not only physical, it is endowed with prana or life. And therefore the next layer is Pranamaya Atma, the vital Atman, governed by the laws of biology. So the entire physical body is governed by the physical sciences, the laws thereof, and the Pranamaya is governed by the laws of prana or biology. So you have the physical sciences, then the biological sciences, and the Manomaya Atma, the mind, thoughts, they are governed by psychological sciences. So you have three important sciences of the modern system of knowledge integrated into understanding of the human personality, the first three layers, Annamaya Atma, Pranamaya Atma, Manomaya Atma. The physical sciences, the biological sciences, and the mental sciences. So beyond the mind, there is a subtle part of intelligence which we call intuition. It is not mere intellect. The mind collects information, stores them carefully, and retrieves them when you need that information. So what you call data is transformed into information, and the information becomes knowledge. Up to that, the manomaya functions. When knowledge is transformed into wisdom, the intuitive faculty which integrates various pieces of knowledge that you have, and during the process of this integration, new knowledge emerges from a deeper layer of human personality called the Vijnanamaya. The modern sciences have not yet come close to understanding of the Vijnanamaya. Vijnanamaya is not thought, is not the intellect which is analytical, but it is a higher form of mind intelligence called intuition, which is synthetic. There are two kinds of knowledge. One is analytical knowledge, the other is synthetic knowledge. In daily life, when all the various atmas function, the Annamaya Atma, Pranamaya Atma, Manomaya Atma, Vijnanamaya Atma, and Anandamaya Atma, you have the interplay of intellect, intelligence, and intuition. New knowledge is created. From nowhere, suddenly you find a spark, and this generates new knowledge. This is what we call in the modern language as research. You search and you research. What you already have inwardly, your own possession as knowledge, is searched and it researched, and you do not gain anything new, but you uncover the knowledge already there, which you call discovery. Which is covered up, and you discover it. You uncover that knowledge. This discovery is called research. We call it invention, discovery. You have discovered something which is in the depths of your own consciousness in the Vijnanamaya and above, and through the power of intuition called the Dhi, you have attained the capacity to discover it. The empowerment through the Gayatri Mantra of the awakening of the Dhi, the faculty of higher intuition, which discovers new knowledge, is called the research in the modern language. So everybody who has done some kind of a research and come up with a new piece of knowledge will know that this comes in a flash. Ah, yes, that is it. Archimedes' example is well known. Eureka! The king had told him about how to find out how much of alloy is there in the gold. The story is he was thinking very deeply about this problem and taking a bath in the bathtub. And when he was floating in the waters in the bathtub, suddenly he found very light. Then he found, oh, there's a buoyancy in water, and my body displaces some water from there, and this displacement of water by my body, from which he discovered the idea of buoyancy of water, gave rise to what is known as the Archimedes principle. And the story is, he threw away all his clothes as he was bathing, and the joy of this discovery was so overwhelming. that he got up and said, Eureka! Eureka! Yes, I have found it, I have found it. And then he was walking around and running around without clothes. That means this idea suddenly struck him. It's not sudden, it appears to be sudden and come in a flash, but deep within, when you search and research, there is a discovery which comes to the surface, and from the manomaya the flash comes and hits the vijnanamaya, the flash comes and hits the manomaya, and it is put into language which is analytical. So the synthetic knowledge which is within, which is holistic, which is integral, which is unindivisible, akhanda jnana, comes to the plane of the manomaya to be able to dissect and discern and analyze. In everyday life we have these two experiences of the analytical knowledge and the synthetic knowledge. There are innumerable concepts and ideas which we know what they are, but we can't analytically try to explain them. Suppose I ask you, what is space? What is time? We understand what is time, but we can't really dissect this analytically and explain what it is. Sri Ramakrishna gives a wonderful, simple example. How does ghee taste like? You know, ghee is produced from butter, and you are so fond of ghee. Somebody offers you ghee, and you take ghee and you feel highly pleased. Ghee is wonderful. And the person who has supplied the ghee is very pleased. He comes and asks you, Sir, how does ghee taste like? What will be your answer? Your answer will be, ghee tastes like ghee. What else? You can't really explain to anybody how ghee tastes like. This is a very, very simple example which Sri Ramakrishna gives in the Gospel to show how certain experiences cannot be explained through the analytical intellect. They have to be experienced by the intuitive mind, and this experience cannot be subject to analysis. The example is given in the Narada Bhakti Sutras. Muka Aswadanavat. That's the sutra. Muka is a person who is dumb, who has lost his power of speech, and you give him a delicious sweet meat to eat. Rasagulla, for example. Rasagulla is an exceptionally tasty sweet in Bengal, as you know. And now there is a dispute whether it's Bengal or Orissa, whatever. So you give a dumb person to taste Rasagulla. And then he says, he is so happy. And then he eats the Rasagulla. And then ask him, oh, you're happy about it? How does it taste? He couldn't explain what it is like. Muka, a dumb person, Aswadana, tasting, what? Similar. It is similar to a dumb person tasting something which is delicious, but unable to speak about it, unable to rationalize it. This rational mind is only a small speck of the entire spectrum of understanding. All the sciences and technologies that we boast of are all in the realm of the rational mind. Beyond the rational mind, there is an intuitive mind through which flows higher intelligence and discovery. This is an important point to note. There is a famous old book called The Nature of the Physical Universe by Arthur Eddington. He is a very reputed astrophysicist, who was a contemporary of Albert Einstein, who performed experiments during the total solar eclipse in the 1925 perhaps, or 26, and proved the truths of the general theory of relativity of Einstein, the shifting of a beam of light. He gave a series of lectures which is called the Gibbard Lectures, and the book is Nature of the Physical Universe, a remarkable book. The wit and the humor and the way he has presented it in the English. So those of you who are interested, please do read this book, The Nature of the Physical Universe, by A.S. Eddington, Arthur Eddington. There is the last chapter called Science and Mysticism. There he speaks about analytical knowledge and synthetic knowledge. Science is analytical knowledge. You analyze. And religion, mysticism, higher intelligence, intuition, they are synthetic knowledge, which do not usually subject themselves to analysis. He gives a very simple example. A very interesting, humorous example. Suppose you are given a piece of humor. You know what is humor? Somebody tells you a joke. Ah, wonderful joke, you laugh. He says, suppose you say, I am a scientist. I will not laugh unless I know really and truly whether it is a joke. Very funny example he gives. Suppose you are offered a piece of joke, piece of humor. What should you do now? You want to find out whether it is truly a joke. Then you ask as a scientist, what are the characteristics of a joke? 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you analyze this joke to show or to find out whether it is truly a joke. Just like you subject a chemical salt to analysis, qualitative analysis, to find out what kind of salt it is. Potassium nitrate. Those who have done some chemistry in colleges will know there's what is known the qualitative analysis. You do a lot of tests to find out what kind of salt it is. Then there's a confirmatory test. When the confirmatory test gives you a positive result, then you know this is this kind of salt. In the present day context, the COVID-19 test. A confirmatory test you do, and then if the result is positive, then you can say this person has been infected with COVID. So analytical. So he says you are given a joke, and as a scientist, you subject this joke to analysis, find out whether this joke possesses all the characteristics of a joke. After having proved and having been convinced that it is really and truly a joke, what should you do now? Laugh? But you will not laugh at all. Because by the time you have analyzed a joke, you have killed a joke. Rabindranath says, there is a beautiful story, Tota Kahini. A parrot was taught some stories and some piece of knowledge. This is a parody on the analytical knowledge. It goes on repeating it, but ultimately it has not absorbed anything. Our present day education is that. Intuition is totally killed. Only the mind is cultivated, analytical mind, rational mind is cultivated, and we pride ourselves to say we are rational, scientific human beings. So next reaction naturally should be to laugh. But Eddington writes, by the time you have analyzed a joke, you have killed the joke, and any tendency to laugh is also killed. The analysis of a joke, he says, retains all the characteristics of a joke except its laughableness. The reaction to a joke in the form of a laughter should come naturally, spontaneously, non-analytically, and not through analysis. In exactly the same way, there are certain emotions which are naturally felt, not through analysis, but in the depths of our being, naturally and spontaneously. You look at the face of a small child, innocently smiling. You feel so happy. Oh, I feel so much of joy seeing the innocent face of the simple child. You don't ask, how did you get this joy? Analyze this joy. You see a beautiful sunrise in the morning in the sky. Ah, how beautiful it is. Wait, what is that beauty? Crimson red, sun rising early morning in the eastern sky. Red, 6,000 angstrom units. 6,000 multiplied by 10 power minus 8 centimeters, angstrom units. You have beautiful yellow flower, daffodils, which Wordsworth saw. And the rainbow, with multicolored rainbow, which Wordsworth wrote about. My heart leaps up in joy when I see the rainbow in the sky. Oh, Wordsworth, stop. Why is it that your heart is leaping in joy? Analyze this leaping. What are the colors there? Yellow, 5893 angstrom units. Red, 6,000 angstrom units. You analyze them in the form of various wavelengths in physics, and the beauty of colors is lost. The beauty of color, the joy that you get out of seeing them, the love which you feel, the affection which you feel to an innocent child, these are certain emotions which spontaneously are felt by the human mind, not analytically, but intimately, spontaneously and naturally. Extended a little more, the feeling for God, the spirit, the samadhi which Ramakrishna experienced. These cannot be analyzed. The devotion which you feel for God, the attraction which the individual soul feels for the universal soul, the Jivatma feels for God, even in the ordinary world, the kind of love which people feel for one another, these cannot be explained through analysis. These have to be deeply felt in the depths of your consciousness. Naturally, spontaneously, non-analytically. And there are certain people who are endowed with this kind of intuitive, higher intelligence awareness in a heightened degree, and they will consider those without this faculty as how we consider people without a sense of humor. A person without a sense of humor is a dead wood. He doesn't react to anything. No feelings, emotions, feelings, joy, beauty, laughter. These are certain spontaneous things which make up for life. Whole life is made up of such wonderfully elevating emotions and not mere analysis of certain objects. So the science of physicality and life, biological sciences and physical sciences, and even mental sciences, are based on certain formulae, certain equations, certain rules, certain laws. And still higher, there are certain spiritual laws which govern the higher intuitive sciences called the spiritual sciences. called the Paravidya. And the Aparavidya, the Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, physical sciences, biological sciences, and the psychological sciences, the mental sciences, all the three of them together forming the Aparavidya, dovetailing smoothly into the Paravidya called the intuition in the Vijnanamaya Atma. The spiritual science begins there and moving on further to Anandamaya and still farther into the realm of the infinite spirit. This is the whole journey which has been envisioned in the Upanishad. Think of the glory. How much of effort our ancient rishis have put into to make this discovery. And this great knowledge is our inheritance, our legacy. It has been bequeathed to us by our great rishis. And all that we need to do is to absorb this even in a small way, infinitesimally though, and it's greatly beneficial and elevating. So the Gayatri Mantra therefore kindles this intuitive faculty of the Vijnanamaya, and with Vijnanamaya is awakened, you see a higher intelligence in the form of light. Uncreated light in which everything falls in place as a wonderful light of consciousness illuminating everything. It's the illumination of this light of consciousness which is responsible for the functioning of the body and the mind and the intellect. Without the light of consciousness, the body, mind and the intellect will be only dull, dead matter. Tameva bhantam anubhati sarvam tasya bhasa sarvamidam vibhati. He is shining, everything shines. It is in His light everything is shining. Kathopanishad. So the light of consciousness for the first time is awakened when you have the awakening of the Vijnanamaya through the Gayatri, the Dhi. And you see an uncreated wonderful light. As Ramakrishna says in the Gospel, you say, what is this light? What is it? Eki, eki. You are simply overwhelmed and bathed in that light. Yogis have felt this, have experienced this, and documented, recorded this. You sit and become bathed in the supreme light, as if a sheet of light is poured over you, just like you pour water on your head, just like you have a cold shower. You stand or sit below the shower, and the shower is simply pouring on you. Light is coming and pouring on you, and you are bathed in this mysterious, uncreated, wonderful light. This is the experience of those who have realized the Gayatri Mantra. Accompanied by that is the hearing of the Anahata Dhvani, the unstruck sound which is Om. Sound and light always go together. Light and sound is a common phrase nowadays. Light by which you see, sound which you hear. Now the famous phrase audio-visual. Audio-visual procedure for knowledge. The modern educational technology constantly reminds you that you have to take the help of audio-visual devices, light and sound. That mysterious sound which is unstruck, anadi, and therefore ananta, and therefore eternally arising in this whole universe, beginningless and endless, shashvata, and the whole universe is vibrating with the consciousness of this light and the anahata dhvani, the Om. Sri Ramakrishna used to say that his guru, Totapuri, the Advaita guru, would tell him, you see, in the midnight, Mahanishi, the yogis can hear this Anahata Dhvani arising within them and pervading the entire universe. The Greek philosophers called it the music of the spheres. Constantly a music is rising in this world. Baje Ashimanabha Maje Anadirava Jage Agannaravi Chandratara. Rabindranath's famous poem. Ashimanabha Baje Anadirava. Anadirava, Anahata Dhvani. Ashima Nabha in the Chidakasha, Baje constantly it is rising. Simultaneously with that, Aganna Ravi Chandra Tara Jage, you have blinding light of consciousness. The Bhagavad Gita says when Arjuna saw the Vishwarupa, the cosmic form, the universal form of the Lord, what was it like? Divisurya Sahasrasya Bhaved Yugavaduthita. As if 1,000 suns have arisen in the sky. Yugapat, simultaneously, Surya Sahasrasya Bhaved Yugavaduthita. So, Aganna Ravi Chandra Tara, innumerable suns and moons and stars are constantly arising in this light. And this is the light of consciousness which is simultaneous with the sound, the Anahata Dhvani. This is the Vijnanamaya. When you reach there, the Christian mystics have talked about the uncreated light within. There is a book called Mysticism by Evelyn Underhill, where she talks about the mystic experiences of the Christian saints. You will get the mention there of the uncreated light. Uncreated light and unstruck sound, they follow together. So when you go still farther, Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, where this unstruck sound, the Anahata Dhvani is heard, and the uncreated light, the supreme light of consciousness is envisaged and seen. From there you move on to the cosmic Vijnanamaya. These are very, very subtle points of sadhana which have been experienced by the yogis and Vedantins, the Upanishads and the Yoga Shastra, and recorded, documented. And we have heard it from people of experience. The Kathopanishad, for example, Yached Vang Manasi Pragya Tadyached Jnana Atmani Jnanamatmani Mahatini Yached Tadyached Shanta Atmani. Withdraw all the mind from all the external objects. The senses which are going out. Avritta Chakshura Mritatvam Icchan, Kathopanishad will say, the senses, Vanga Manasi Pragyaha. Vang is Upalakshana, representative of all the senses. Shabda Sparsha Rupa Rasa Gandha, Chakshukarna Nasikatva Jikhva, the Pancha Jnanendriyas, Vak Pani Padapayu Upastha, the Pancha Karmendriyas, all of them you withdraw, Yached, and what will you do? Deposit them in the mind. Vanga Manasi Pragyaha. Tadyached Jnana Atmani. Jnana Atma is the Vijnanamaya Atma. The Vijnanamaya Atma is a higher intuitive intelligence in which the mind is deposited, the higher mind as they call it. Annamaya Pranamaya withdrawn and put into the Manomaya, and the entire thing once again deposited in the Vijnanamaya. That means there is a coalescing, as it were, of the Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya. This entire coalesced, synthesized wisdom is now moved on to the cosmic Vijnanamaya. This is a great secret in spiritual sadhana. Swami Yatishwarananda, one of our illustrious vice presidents of the Ramakrishna order and a man of great anubhuti, his famous book Meditation and Spiritual Life contains so many secrets of sadhana and siddhi. Swami Bhajanananda, his worthy disciple, compiled all of them. From him we have heard about so many secrets of sadhana. He has a book called Adventures in Spiritual Life. There is a chapter, Secret Stairs to Super Consciousness. As you move along, there's a secret stair there. What is the stair? This stair leads to super conscious awareness. So from the Vijnanamaya, which is individual, called Vyashti, you move on to the cosmic Vijnanamaya. Suppose you are taking an elevator or a lift. 1, 2, 3, 4. The American system, you talk about the ground floor is 1, the next is 2, 3. In the British system, we call it 0, 1, 2, 3. In Bengali, of course, we follow the American system, Ektala, Dutala, Tintala, Chartala. Now, if you enter the lift, the ground floor is the Annamaya. From there, 1, go to the Pranamaya. In the British system, 0, 1. Or in the American system, 1, from 1 you go to 2, the Pranamaya. 3, the Manomaya. And if you go from the point of view of the Tantra, the Shat Chakras, from the Mooladhara Chakra, Annamaya, you move on to Swadhisthana Chakra, the Linga Moola, at the generative organ, Pranamaya. From there you move on to the Manomaya, which is in the Nabhi or the navel. 1, 2, 3. Then 4, you reach the Vijnanamaya. From 4, it is not higher ascendance. This is the experience of the yogis and jnanis. 4, the door opens. And you enter in the Vijnanamaya. You take an escalator rather than an elevator. You know, an escalator is horizontal. In the airport, for example, the escalator walks. You don't have to walk. You take the escalator and it keeps walking. So the elevator takes you up, 1, 2, 3, 4, come out, take the escalator which says way to Hiranyagarbha. Hiranyagarbha is the cosmic Vijnanamaya. The Samashti Vijnanamaya and the Samashti Vijnanamaya Upahita Chaitanya is called the Hiranyagarbha. Saguna Brahman, the cosmic mind. Virat Man, as Swami Sharadananda says in the Lila Prasanga of the great master, divine play of Ramakrishna. So you walk along the escalator and reach the Hiranyagarbha, the cosmic mind, the cosmic intelligence of the supreme intelligence, which is characterized by the aggregate of the intelligences of all the beings. Samashti buddhyupahita chaitanya. Samashti, aggregate, combination, buddhi, intelligences, upahita, covered by it, that is the Chaitanya. Then a world of light opens to you. Then you stand there at the doorstep of this Hiranyagarbha, stands the Medha Devi. These are all wonderful descriptions given in the Vedas. And if you have the blessed fortune to hear from those who have actually experienced it, to some extent we have heard, then Medha Devi is greeting you. Welcome to Hiranyagarbha. You have reached this far, my child. Then said, Mother Devi, please allow me to enter the world of Hiranyagarbha. Medha Devi Jushamana na agaad Vishwaji Bhadra Sumanasyamana Tvaya Jushta Nudamana Duruktaan Brihadvadema Vidathe Suvira Tvaya Jushta Rishir Bhavati Devi Tvaya Brahma Gatashri Rutatvaya Tvaya Jushtas Chitram Vindate Vasasano Jushasvadravino Namedhe. You pray to Medha Devi. Oh Medha Devi, oh Mother, please be pleased with me, bless me graciously. And I have been so far wasting my time for nothing in most useless talk, constantly socializing and writing in the blog and Twitter and Facebook and so many kinds of connections with hundreds of thousands of people. Duruktan, wasting time in useless, profitless talk. Purushartha anapayoginaha, which is not useful for any purushartha. Dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Now you have come into my life, O Medha Devi. I will now talk about divine things. Brihadvadema. Tvadagamanad purvam, before you came to me, Jushamana Duruktan, I was delighting in profitless talk, useless talk, paracharcha and paraninda, criticizing others constantly and discussing other useless topics. Jushamana Duruktan Brihadvadema Vidathe Suvira. Now, since you have come into my life, you have blessed me, you have occupied my heart, O Medha Devi. I will now talk about Brihadvadema, great things. Brahma means Brihat. Brahma Dhatu, big, vast, infinite. I will talk about infinite. Yad bhuma vaitat sukham Nalpe sukhamasti. Chandagopanishad. Yad bhuma, that which is big, that which is vast. Only in that there is sukha. Alpe, in small, little, there is no sukha at all. Yad bhuma vaitat sukham, na alpe sukhamasti. This is the infinite vast. So we will discuss divine things. Tat chintanam, tat khatanam, manyonyam, tat prabodhanam, etadeka paratvancha, brahmabhyasam budurbudhaha. The wise people say this is brahmabhyasa. Tat chintanam, tat kathanam, thinking about Brahman, talking about Brahman. Anyonyam tat prabodhanam, discussing with one another these divine spiritual topics. Etadeka paratvancha, constantly absorbed, focused only in this infinite divine principle. This is called Brahma Abhyasa. The Abhyasa, the habit of constantly getting absorbed in Brahman. Let us develop this habit. This Corona lockdown, completely being compelled to stay put with ourselves, should generate in this a great eagerness to constantly get absorbed in this. If you have to connect with anybody, connect to everybody through discussion on the infinite, discussion on something big, discussion on something vast, limitless. Yad bhuma vai tat sukham. That alone will give you joy. Brihadvadema, with whom vidate suviraha. Heroic sons, heroic grandchildren, heroic disciples. If you are a householder, a grihastha, you have children and grandchildren. And you are a sannyasi, you will have disciples and grand disciples. With all of them, let me discuss the infinite, the vast, limitless. Vidate suviraha. Tvaya jushta rishir bhavati devi. Those who have been graced by you, blessed by you, O Devi, they become rishis. All of us should strive to be rishis. Vivekananda blessed us. Torashab rishi ho. All of you, may you become rishis. Who is a rishi? Rishi is a person who has been blessed by the Medha Devi and in whom the higher faculty of intuition called Medha Riddhi, Prajna, has been awakened. We are the children of the great rishis who realized all these truths and you documented them clearly for us to read and understand. So we should become rishis in the modern times. Swamiji said, all of you will become rishis, and the rishis of the old will pale into insignificance, and they will look down upon their children and grandchildren, the modern rishis which we are, and be delighted. Oh, my children, my grandchildren, all of them, these are become rishis. And we will impart this rishihood to our children, our disciples, our devotees, and our grandchildren. They will in turn make everybody rishis. The rishi parampara, the Brahma Vidya parampara should go on. This institution called the Ramakrishna Mutt and the Ramakrishna Mission has been called by the old venerable monk Swami Premeshananda ji as Brahma Vidya Research Institute. This institute researches into Brahma Vidya, how Brahma Vidya can be attained. Adhyatma Vidya Vidyanam. Adhyatma Vidya is the greatest of all Vidyas. Bhagavan says in the Vibhuti Yoga, Sabbrahma Vidyam Sarva Vidya Pratishtham Atharvaya Jeshtaputraya Praha. This Brahma Vidya has been taught from generation to generation, the Guru to the disciple, to his disciple, and so on. What is the Brahma Vidya? Sarva Vidya Pratishtha. This is the Pratishtha, the backbone, the bedrock, foundation of all other Vidyas. Sab Brahma Vidya, Sarva Vidya Pratishtha. What a wonderful statement. Mundaka Upanishad. So this Vidya is what we have inherited. And this Vidya is kindled by the Medha Devi's grace. So enter into the world of Hiranyagarbha, the world of light. The world of Hiranyagarbha is the world where Saguna Brahman lives. Devotees of Shiva will call it Kailasha, where Saguna Brahman in the form of Shiva retains, my Ishtadevata. Devotees of Vishnu will call it Vaikuntha, where Vishnu resides with Lakshmi and all the various Parshadas. Devotees of Ramakrishna will say the Ramakrishna Loka, which has been newly created when the Avatara comes, where Ramakrishna will be there with the Shakti Sharada Devi, Nararishi Vivekananda and his beloved son Rakhal, and all his disciples, all the gurus who have blessed us with the Mantra Diksha, all the various Jivan Muktas who have gone and occupied the Ramakrishna Loka. A devotee of Ramakrishna will go to the Hiranyagarbha Loka, the Ramakrishna Loka, and rejoice there in the world of light. Yached vang manasi pragyat yached jnanatmani jnanamatmani mahatini yached. And this Hiranyagarbha Loka is called the Mahat Loka. It's called Mahat. In the Sankhyan philosophy, it's called Mahat. In the Vedanta philosophy, it's called Hiranyagarbha. Bhagavan Bhashyakara says, Shankaracharya, commenting on the mantra, Indriyebhya parahyarthartebhyascha param manah manasastha para buddhir buddhir atma mahan para mahata param avyaktam avyaktat purusha para purushanna param kinchit sa kashtha sa paragati. Commenting on this verse, he says, Mahanatma is Hiranyagarbha. Avyaktat prathamam jatam hairanyagarbham tattvam. There is the bhashya. Avyaktat prathamam jatam, the first offspring of avyakta, which is prakriti, is a Hiranyagarbha, which is called the Mahat Tattva. So the individual Vijnanamaya, which is what you call the Dhi, the Pragya, the Medha, a devotee or a sadhaka walks horizontally through the escalator, as it were, and enters the world of Hiranyagarbha. He is simply overjoyed at see his own Ishtadevata. The whole thing is luminous. And a projection of that Hiranyagarbha Loka, Ramakrishna Loka on the physical earth mapped on is called Belur Math. I always used to think, what is this Belur Math? Belur Math is the mapping of the Hiranyagarbha Loka, the Ramakrishna Loka, onto the Martya Loka or the Bhuloka. Imagine the Belur Math as full of light. Just for the sake of imagination, think of this, meditate on this. You are just sitting in the main temple. Whole thing is luminous, full of light. And like a small boy or a girl, you are sitting there, and you see you are also full of light. I am also full of light. And you see the Murti of Sri Ramakrishna Bhagavan, it's also luminous, light is emanating. And you see all around, it's all light and light everywhere. It is not the ordinary light, the light of consciousness, Chaitanya Jyoti. And you're immersed in light, you're alone, nobody is around. Then you're so elevated, you look around and through that door, you see two luminous beings walking slowly, and you can recognize them as Swami Vivekananda and Swami Brahmananda. Narayana and Rakhal slowly walking, and you feel so overjoyed. You rush and then make pranams to them. Swamiji, Maharaj, oh my boy, you are here. Rakhal, you look after this boy. He is doing so much work for me, Swamiji says. Imagine this. Then slowly you move around. Then you see, what is that building at the end? Oh, that is President's quarters. Here President Maharaj lives. Then slowly you move and see, who is sitting in the President's seat? Swami Brahmananda is sitting. Oh, Swami Brahmananda is the Adhyaksha, Sanghaadhyaksha. Swami Vivekananda is there in the Saptarsha Mandala, Transcendental. Then you slowly move around, go to the other extreme. What is this building? This is where the manager of the mutt sits. And slowly enter and see Swami Premananda, Baburam Maharaj is sitting there. Oh, Baburam Maharaj, Swami Premananda, he is the manager of this mutt. Everything is luminous. He is also luminous. Then slowly move around. What is that building? That is called the Brahmachari's Prasakshana Kendra, the training center, where scriptures are taught, studied. Then slowly enter there. You go to the principal's office, and Swami Turiyananda is sitting there. Hari Maharaj, Swami Turiyananda, you are the principal. You are teaching all the students here, Brahmacharis. Then you come, main temple, the luminous temple, the sound of bell, the worship puja is going on, and you peep in and say, who is worshipping? Shashi Maharaj, Swami Ramakrishna, oh, you are the pujari. Then you see old Swami going around and looking after the garden. He is also luminous. Swami Advaitananda is looking after the garden. Then one Swami wearing the pagadi and then looking after the construction and maintenance. Who is he? Swami Vijnanananda. Oh, Vijnanananda, he is maintaining this. So this is Belur Math. And you move slowly to the other end. This is the mission office where the General Secretary sits. Ah, is it so? You peep in and see Swami Sharadananda is sitting there as the General Secretary. This is Belur Math. This is the Ramakrishna Loka. Ramakrishna Loka is that in which Swami Brahmananda is the president, Swami Sharadananda is the secretary, Swami Premananda is the manager, Swami Ramakrishnananda is the worshipper, Swami Advaitananda looks after the garden, Swami Vijnanananda is looking after the construction and the maintenance, Swami Turiyananda is in charge of teaching and training the brahmacharis. This is Belur Math. This is the Ramakrishna Loka, the divine Loka, which is the Hiranyagarbha Loka. Then you're absorbed in that. You may get absorbed, not feel like moving farther, but still you want to go to the higher truth, still higher than this. Like Swami Sri Ramakrishna got stuck up at the Mother Kali's vision, and Totapari said, go still farther, go still farther. Took a small piece of glass and pierced between the eyebrows the Ajna Chakra, and then forced him to go still farther. Again, when the luminous, divine, living, palpable, tangible form of the Mother came and stood before him, and Sri Ramakrishna's mind did not want to go farther, then he imagined knowledge, jnana, to be a khadga, sword, and cut the form of the Mother into two. His mind simply got absorbed in that supreme, divine, formless, infinite consciousness. Nirvikalpa Samadhi is recorded. So you can go still farther. Jnanam Atmani Mahatini Yached Tadyached Shanta Atmani, the supreme Atman, the Brahman, which is beyond even Hiranyagarbha, beyond forms, beyond names, beyond space, time and causation, the infinite and the absolute. Ashabdam Asparisham Arupam Abhyayam Tatharasam Nityamagandhavachayat Anadjanantam Mahatav Param Dhruvam Nichayatan Mrityumukhat Pramuchyate. The Supreme. Na antav pragyam na bahi pragyam na ubhayata pragyam na pragyana ghanam na pragyam na pragyam madrishtam avyavaharyam agrahyam alakshanam achintyam avyapadeshyam ekatma pratyayasaram prapanchopashamam shantam shivam advaitam chaturtham manyante sa atma sa vigneyaha. Mandaka such grand mantras. Then sa akashtha sa paragatihi. That is the ultimate acme of all spiritual realization. So how far we have to travel in the spiritual path, we imagine this. We have begun well. At least we should raise our consciousness from the Annamaya, Manomaya, Pranamaya, Guhyalinga, Napi, eating and drinking and socializing and talking. From there you raise your consciousness at least to the Vijnanamaya, where you can have a glimpse of the higher consciousness. This is the purpose of the Gayatri Mantra. Sandhya merges into Gayatri. Then all the external Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, which is the Sandhya, merges into the Vijnanamaya, which is the Gayatri. And from there, Gayatri will take you further and merge you into Om. Om Niranjanam Nityamanantarupam Bhaktanukampa Dhrita Vigraham Vai Ishavataram Parameshamidyam Tam Ramakrishnam Shirasa Namamaha. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat. Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.